Let me ask you a question. Do you watch AEW?
I do. I do the AEW Sub-Help Group, but this week I'm going to be on Cafe de Rene on their Patreon watching along with him and Paul London, so I'm excited for that.
Okay. So what do you like? Is there any storyline or any character that you like in AEW?
I see a lot of, I just see things that are so backwards in their presentation of we're the pillars and all those guys are athletic. I'm not trying to on them and say they're not, but when you got guys that look like freshmen in college or seniors in high school, and then you got Wardlow and Hobbs buried at 8:50, not even at the 9 o'clock top of the hour, that's an issue. And that was a title change that they did there. Why is that not in the main event? My main issues with them is, unsafe bumps to start with, excessive risk. That's a big thing we could cut back on. But formatting their show, they've got the pieces. They're just not putting them together the right way, or who needs to shine at the right way.
And let me go back to the four pillars thing, bro. They're not the four pillars. The four pillars was Cody, the Young Bucks, and Omega. Yeah, they're like the four doors or windows or something. But the pillars are these guys.
Just keeping to referring to them like that, it's undermined.
Like they're the guys that built the company. Now you were like what I'm saying?
In the money favors to come in and get gigs, and they worked it, so be it. But in that presentation, it's backwards. And then a guy like Orange Cassidy, who's a hell of an athlete, man, like to be able to do nip up with your hands in your pockets, and obviously your guys that are doing unbelievable aerial assault stuff there. That Orange Cassidy to me can get over in 30 seconds if you put him in the right place, or a Danhausen to be a catalyst for everybody else's character. He hears one thing or somebody sets something in motion and he just moves something to someplace else without saying a word. Those little appearances would mean way more for him than doing a 20-minute match where he's got to pull time. So
right, and he's like in a group that doesn't look that cool, the Best Friends, and now they just added Bandito for whatever reason. It's almost like the group that Brian Cage is in. It's like, what is he doing here?
Yeah, right.
He looks super out of place. Like, remember Dungeon of Doom?
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
And you were in
it. I was in it. Okay, and there was a leprechaun. Okay, there was a leprechaun. There was a Yeti. Okay, there was Kevin Sullivan.
There was a shark.
The show I'm on.
There was a shark.
Kevin Sullivan's on the show at Great Northern Wrestling in Ottawa. Yeah. So
he's the man. But there's just so many factions that look out of place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude. When you got a Jake Hager and he's feeding for guys half his size, and Jake's a great worker. He came up with him at OVW, and we got to get a purple hat over, or we're not using Sean Spears the right way. Like, these are incredible workers, dude, that really got buried in WWE because they got themselves over instead of the Office getting them over and restarted again. Like, just the fact that we don't know how to use those guys is a big, issue. They're grade A talent, man. So I think,
bro, and the thing is, Ben, they just brought Roderick Strong in.
Roderick Strong.
They just keep. My bad. Yeah.
Well, how about that segment? Buddy's getting beat down. Down comes who came for the first cavalry save. So two guys come down for it was the best.
No. The two guys that just formed their alliance, Bandito and Cassidy. Right. Like for some reason, Bandito has heat with those guys. Like,
They come down and get their ass kicked. And so now three guys are down on a 3-on-4. Roderick Strong comes down, takes out four guys by himself. Or Matt Hardy's getting beat down. Here come his boys, right? We ran this same segment two weeks ago. They get beat down, but here comes Jeff. But Jeff's going to wait and not save his brother because we got to hit the music to make sure that he's coming out here. Don't worry, Matt can take a beating. I got to get my entrance in, bro. So it's things like that leave me just going, I got to
just a guy. And you got a guy running that's never done it before, so the attention to detail is just going to be non-existent. I think it's funny that like I have a problem with the universe that show is created. Like that, you basically create your universe. So the referees are kind of like the way they count, and so you create your universe, but you kind of stick to it, right? The universe they've created there is just kind of bizarre because, literally almost every single time one of these little guys fight a bigger guy, they win every single time.
Yeah.
Like it's so it's like and plus two in the year 2023, everybody knows it's self-mutilation. Okay, so you're cutting yourself, and these guys are cutting themselves and bleeding all over the place in 2000, and like this just turns people off. It's like you're kind of like disrespecting the IQ of the audience, I think, so that they don't realize that they're doing when you're doing these things, and they're like it just looks ridiculous. It's like why does
I'll tell you what I think. I wouldn't say bothers me, but I just think that because I use blood in Mexico, and once people see people bleed, their emotion goes up another notch. They're like, "Oh, this is real." Yeah. But we do it every now and then in the midst of a good feud where it should be done. Sure. But I almost feel like, okay, WWE can't do it. We can do it. So we're going to overdo it. So there's a lot of gratuitous where you're like, why is this guy bleeding? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, there it is.
All right. Nobody uses that. And you brought somebody on the show and you asked him thinking that he was going to agree with you and he disagreed with you. Who was it?
Kenny Bolin never heard of Addicted to the Blade. But the reason I asked him was because now
country as country can be.
See if you've heard this, because I heard it on Nash's podcast. Nash said that he used to use the term for the blade.
Yeah, I have heard that.
Okay, so that's a real one. Okay.
Yeah, I have heard that before.
Close enough.
I've heard you, K-Dog. This guy needs a big brother, and I got to say, we're calling them Big Annies now. If you want to get me Big Annie for the next big announcement that we always have on a Wednesday, he delivered himself. The last ones he started and then like kind of got caught with a deer in headlights look and handed it off to Adam Cole or whoever, Nigel McGuinness to give the promo. There he looked like an owner, delivering it straight to you to tell you what was coming next. That was a better thing for him this week than the other Big Annies he's had. And I think the biggest thing is I've heard, obviously if Punk's coming back and he's getting his own show and then we're going to keep them separated and you guys.
That's absurd. What do you think about that?
Well,
you couldn't get these guys to work together. That literally you have to do another show and you're going to keep them apart from each other. That's your only money angle. And you're literally just not going to do it. It's like, come on. It's like, I don't know. It's
him versus Colt Cabana with Colt's mom at ringside in the front row needs to be done as well. And
you would think
they're getting paid crazy money and thinking that they can still go and do what they want, then nobody's regulating on them. And I know the women's locker room isn't in much of a better shape, you know what I mean, with that. So I've heard K-Dog say that Buddy needs a big brother or a locker room regulator. Been doing this for a minute. I got the email, dog. Just put me over. So, I'll be happy.
They're not going to have, bro. They're not going to have any violence there. They'd rather play Dungeons and Dragons and,
Well, I'm just saying people are getting their own way and they shouldn't be. They should be being told, no,
here's the problem.
Wants, and this is what you're going to do, or we're done.
There's a lot of money to be made.
Yeah.
If you could make them think for a minute that if you get in the ring together again, somebody might go into business for himself. You could make a lot of money off that premise. And you're not doing it.
I'm shocked that those guys the guys involved should know that. Like they should all know that.
The only guy that kind of knows it is Jericho, because they said that he met with him and they talked. Because I think Jericho's like, who do I work with? I mean, if I did something with Punk or we did something, you know what I'm saying?
It's so hard to get a real worked shoot going. Right. It's right here, but nobody wants to step up to go, you're doing this.
Let me give you a booking prediction, okay? That when Punk comes back, okay, if he does an angle with Jericho, one of the first main events on Dynamite is going to be CM Punk versus Daniel Garcia. Mr. Main Event Daniel Garcia. Bro, how many main events has Daniel Garcia been in on Dynamite?
He's over, bro. Buffalo's fans. Yeah, man. To me, like, obviously there's big money on Punk and he can draw and do what's what, but if you're locked
he's proven he can. I mean, they were getting over $1 million, like his initial thing, they kind of lost a lot. He was a lot of buzz. But as a draw, I've said it before, it looks like since he's been gone, they're missing like about 100,000 regular fans on a weekly basis that kind of just left because he wasn't on the show. And it's like, you look at the numbers and that's kind of what it was,
if we can get that work shoot with the Elite going, there will be big back there. Absolutely.
Yeah,
but here's my prediction on top of yours. I've seen this guy in action for 16 years, 16 years up close in a couple different situations that are legendary. And Phil's going to fill. And in 10 months, something else will happen. He will find some other way to find discourse with somebody or something else, and it will blow up. It'll be somebody attacks him on Twitter. He'll no sell it, but then he'll do something passive aggressive and delete it.
It's really fascinating because you would look at his behavior over the years as somebody that had substance abuse problems. You know, like but he's straight edge. So he's like the guy that doesn't do any booze or any drugs or ever did is the one guy that has the most problems out of anybody. It's like I don't. It's kind of weird if you think about it that way, you know.